Hello, Bryan Colter here for another horoscope report using the technique of evolutionary astrology, where we can take a close look on how we can work with this Capricorn New Moon that happens on January 2nd. And working with it is a good way of describing it, because with evolutionary astrology, we aren't just using it as a predictive technique, but rather a prescriptive technique. It's like, okay, great, this is the energy we're experiencing now. This is what we can expect in terms of different behavioral manifestations and challenges. And then it's like, okay, the follow-up question is, here it is, why is it happening, and what can I do to work with this energy consciously with a high degree of awareness, with the goal being to evolve, to expand our consciousness. So that's what I'm most interested in, is how can we use these energies for our own psycho-spiritual development. And here we are in the heart of Capricorn season. Now in the northern hemisphere, where these symbols really evolved, when the sun enters Capricorn, winter starts. So winter symbolism is very important to contemplate as we work with Capricorn energy. So winter, it has nothing to do with temperature, like being cold, but rather imagine you're out in Alaska and for whatever reason you're in a cabin alone in the woods and it's in winter time and you get stranded there and you have to survive the winter in nature alone. And think about the virtues that would have to arise in you if you were going to live through that experience. You would have to steel yourself. It would be a very difficult process. And you'd have to bring out a certain realistic energy in you. 2 and 2 makes 4 every time. And coming to terms with the fact that you're going to be on short rations and you have to survive somehow. And you can't freeze to death, so you got to chop wood every day. And it takes a lot of willpower and focus and discipline and a certain, let's say, stoic long suffering. Capricorn, it doesn't play the victim card. It sucks it up. It's like, let's do what's necessary here. And actually, Capricorn people really thrive. They fully self-actualize when they find some great work to sink their teeth into, that they can put a lot of these qualities that they have, this indomitable will, into the creation of that great work. And it's in the process of accomplishing that. There's virtue in the accomplishment, but then it folds back into their consciousness as dignity, self-respect, and wisdom. This is the path for a lot of Capricorn folks out there. And it's in the sign of endurance, archetypally known as the sea goat, which can climb any mountain and cross any ocean. It's an incredible power. It's also the symbol of integrity and commitment and vows. When Capricorn people, they say you're somebody's friend, they've signed a contract in blood. They mean it, okay? So when we think about, okay, well, how do I work with this energy? For starters, we want to understand that this is a new moon. And a new moon, among other things, is about new beginnings. And here we are having this new moon of new beginnings at the very beginning of a new year. So making some Capricornian commitment to accomplish some great work this year, the fascination with what's difficult, so that I can bring into my consciousness more dignity, self-respect, strength, endurance. That's the great prize. So this very much has the feeling of New Year's resolution, which isn't a term I care too much about, maybe because all the ones I've committed to in my life I haven't followed through with for the entirety of the year, so maybe my negative bias to that word gives me a bad taste in my mouth. But I actually like it here. How can I commit in Capricorn fashion to create some new beginning in my life that will continue to unfold over the course of the year? And the follow-up question, of course, is, okay, what kind of new beginning, okay, besides just a great work? Well, for that, you want to understand the major astrological events that are happening this year, which I'll talk about a couple of them in this video, but also, even in a more exacting fashion, you can look at your own personal birth chart and see where this Capricorn new moon falls in your chart. So you look in your wheel, you look where Capricorn is. The new moon is happening at about 12 degrees of Capricorn. And then you'll see, okay, it's falling in this specific house. And with a little investigation, you can learn about what that house means. And then you can say, okay, the great work seems to want to start in this house of my life, okay, in this arena of my life, if you will. What new direction, what new seed can I plant that I can do the hard work necessary to foster the growth of that seed, which will grow into some beautiful tree over the course of the year? If you don't know how to find Capricorn in your chart, I'll put a link below to a 45-minute tutorial where I walk you through the process. And that's where astrology really gets fun, is you can directly apply it to your own personal chart. That's where the magic really happens. Now, with all that being said, how can we glean more information from the music of the spheres, figure out what else is going on this year astrologically that will need to also tie in to this New Year's resolution, if you will, this upcoming great work of 2022 for you? Well, that's going to be a combination basically of 3 events, only 2 of which I'm going to really focus on here. The one I'm not going to focus on so much, I've been talking about it a lot the last year, all astrologers have, it's the Saturn-Uranus square. It was the dominant event of last year. It's one of the headliners this year. It's not quite as dramatic this year, but it's definitely in the mix. And it is very much the background music, if you will, setting the tone of the year. And just in a super condensed nutshell, it highlights themes of control and restriction versus freedom and liberation. Pretty obvious to see how that's playing out in the world. On a more personal level, you could also consider it the part of the great work of liberating oneself in the sense of becoming more in alignment with your individualistic self, which is really your divine essence, your soul energy, and contemplate deeply what part of my personality is a summation of outside influence, is a summation of cultural influences, family influences. In other words, our malleable human acquired personality. That's not your individualist expression of self. That is cultural glop. Individuating is getting rid of some of that cultural glop so you can express your divine essence. That is really highlighting the bullseye of what the Saturnian great work of the Uranian process is. So let's just put that idea aside. That can definitely be tied up in your New Year's resolution as well. But what I really want to focus on here is the other 2 big events. And the one I want to start with is the transiting nodes of the moon have recently, as of about a week ago, changed into new signs. And this is significant because they spend about 18 months, a little bit longer, in each set of signs. So they just left Sagittarius and Gemini, and now they've entered South Node in Scorpio, North Node in Taurus. In evolutionary astrology, we look at the transiting nodes in basically 2 ways. For starters, they represent the karma of the babies being born over the next 18 months. They'll have very scorpionic karma, which is to say intense. They'll have a deep level of psychological wisdom and actually born with that wisdom, but that wisdom's been brewing in the cauldrons of experience of many lives, usually tougher lives. You know, Scorpio past lives can be pretty intense. So it says a lot about the baby's karma over the next 18 months. But what I want to focus on here for our purposes in this video is they also talk a lot about the collective karma. So the collective has been working through South Node in Sagittarius for the last 18 months, which is the dark side of Sag, which is to say the world has been drunk on belief systems, okay, blind belief, and now we're transitioning out of that phase into Scorpio. And this is going to work on a couple different levels as well. Scorpio is about charged emotional material. So we're going to have repressed wounding coming up in all their splendor and glory and horror, okay? So people are going to have amazing healing breakthroughs potentially, but also you're going to see a lot of lashing out, bad acting out, reflexive, wounded child throwing a temper tantrum kind of activities. We're going to see a lot of both. You know, let's say you're sitting with a friend and you're triggered about something that happened in your life, and you're having this heated moment and in righteous indignation and anger, and you're telling your friend the injustice of it all, whatever happened. and your friend's listening compassionately. He or she is with you the whole time. And when you're done with your tirade, they say, what you're looking at here is completely real, but there's also something you're not looking at here. And they go on and speak an incredibly fierce, hard-hitting truth to you. And it sinks in you like a stone and just drops to the core of your being. And it's like, wow, this person just gave you a precious gift if you can take it gracefully. When somebody speaks a fierce truth in us that we know is part of our woundedness, is a great trigger for us, we can react in a couple different ways. We can get defensive. How dare you say that? We can get into this place of denial, compartmentalization, and allow it to sink back into the subconscious, into your inner hell world to do its devious activities. This negative energy, basically, this woundedness within you. So you can react in a very egotistical way, okay, and cause more damage perhaps to the relationship with this person and within yourself, within your own psyche. Or you can hear the information, have the impulse to defend yourself vigilantly, and just pause for a moment, look at them dead in the eye, and say, thank you. I understand. Shining a light in the darker corners of your psyche. Now, if you were to do the thank you version of this story, that's you getting an A+ on your report card for Scorpio. Okay. If you allow the inner demons to come out even more, how dare you say that, when they did X, Y, Z, that's getting a D on your report card. There's shades of gray in between, but you get it. It is about charged emotional material. And we will see a lot of people have deep levels of healing and breakthrough over the next 18 months. But we'll also see just a lot of childish behavior, people very reactive when they don't like what they hear. And the world holds the mirror of truth before them, and they sink deeper into denial. The scorpionic karmic wave is breaking for the collective. What we do with it is dependent on our own personal choices and the superpower of our free will. Now, what I just described are some of the negative aspects of Scorpio, the turbulence, the storminess within, where it can get very chaotic and we get to this moody, heavy, brooding place within us, okay? Yes, that's dark side Scorpio. And the reason why I didn't highlight so much on the positive side is when looking at the South Node, we want to look at it a little bit more negatively or askance, just because we want to see what we're trying to work through as a collective. And then look to the North Node in Taurus as the antidote or the karmic medicine or remedy to help find a balance point between Taurus and Scorpio. Because with opposite signs, they help to correct the extremes of each other. Okay? So the Scorpio energy you could describe as very complex, psychologically, emotionally complex. It's a water sign. It's on the subjective plane. Taurus is an earth sign. It's more about simplicity, not complexity. It's just a different way of looking at reality. And I love working with Taurus energy because the simplicity of, for example, here's a Taurus concept, nature, animals, classically known as the bull archetype, but really you could substitute that for any animal. When an animal is hungry, it eats. When it's tired, it sleeps. If it likes you, it comes near you. If it doesn't like you, it walks away. It's utterly in the present moment. It has made peace with the five senses. That's really all it knows, the instincts. So bringing your conscious awareness in your body and finding that still point. It's archetypally known as the silent one. Find the silence inside that doesn't have to explain away everything. That doesn't, match up with my existing viewpoint of what reality is and how dare they and getting triggered and all this. No, Taurus, it's like, breathe. The sign of breath. Breathe in, breathe out. Get enough food, enough rest, enough touch. Remember to live through the five senses, listen to music. It's archetypally known as the musician, actually. And when you do these ancient animal actions, you find pockets of peace. And peace is the remedy for the scorpionic turbulence that we're going to see a lot of within the collective. So that's one big event. And you can tie that into this new great work of 2022. Just weave that in. Because how can I cultivate more peace in my life and also not allow my inner wounded child, my egoic reactivity that stems from betrayal, rejection, and abandonment, usually from childhood, but, as you're growing up to even adult and karmically, I don't want to get caught up in the stormy reactivity from the ego, but rather let's just return to the body. How can I cultivate more peace in my life? Now, lastly, certainly not least, we have Jupiter, just a few days ago, entered its own sign of Pisces. Jupiter is the classical ruler of Pisces. The more modern rulership of Pisces is Neptune. Neptune is also in Pisces. It has been since 2012. And actually, my favorite event of the year of 2022 is when Jupiter and Neptune, both of Pisces rulers, form an exact conjunction. That happens in April. I'm very much looking forward to that. And actually, I have an upcoming class for those that are interested. I'm not going to explain what that class is yet, but that's just a little teaser. So stay tuned for that. So Jupiter in its own sign at maximum power this year, the greater benefic, archetypally known as the king of the gods. This is the year of the king, or the queen, if you will, just to keep it PC. And this is more about the good king, the benevolent king, instead of the evil king. The king that is larger than life, that is optimistic, that is very generous. Eat, drink, and be merry. Santa Claus is a beautiful Jupiterian archetype. Obviously very generous and, loves to live life to the fullest. You can tell by his big belly and his big red nose, Jupiter is Santa Claus that wants to merrily bring gifts to your doorstep. And this is the more classical interpretation of Jupiter, the planet of luck, planet of expansion. So we'll see a lot of expansion this year. During the year of the kings. Expansion in what? Well, a lot of different things. It depends on how we work with the energy, actively and consciously. So it is the good king, and it wants to lift our spirits. It's the planet of faith. Now, let's say there's a person who has a strong Jupiter in their birth chart. Maybe it's Jupiter conjunct the sun or on the ascendant or whatever. They will exude this generosity and optimism, and their faith in other people will cause them to have more faith in themselves. They're the natural coaches of the world. It's a magical quality Jupiter people have. Imagine there's a group of people at a party, and they're having drinks and having a good time, and there's one of the people in the group is a little bit more timid or shy, and they feel motivated to share this joke that they really love, and they go in the spirit of bravery, they start to tell this joke to the group. And they kind of stumble through the joke, and they mess up the linear fashion of the joke, and they have to rewind and tell a couple lines over again. So it's really awkward and clunky, and basically this person has ruined the joke. But when he or she finally finishes, the Jupiter person within the group gives out this big hearty laugh, like it was the funniest thing they ever heard. And the Jupiter person does it for two reasons. One, it feels really good to laugh. And two, it would be too cheap not to laugh. And here this person is showing faith in this person who knows they did it very awkwardly and lifts the spirit of that person. Jupiter has that possibility, especially when it's going through its own sign. It does go into Aries a little bit and then retrogrades back into Pisces, but it is very strong this year. So we want to make sure we wring out as much evolutionary potential from the king as we can. And it's in a square aspect during this new moon to the nodes of the moon. So it's going to be helpful to strive for that Taurus North Node intention and be aware of the South Node shadow, to take a little detour through the square to Jupiter to help us even reach that North Node in Taurus. So how do you work with Jupiter? Well, through the evolutionary lens. It's not about just sitting back and enjoying some good luck, which I think a lot of us will experience a lot of good luck, especially if it's going through a sensitive part in our chart. That's part of Jupiter. But working with it actively and consciously is asking the question, how have I underestimated myself? How am I settling for too little? I'm due for a victory. How can I engineer one? 2022 potentially is the year of victories. Part of your great work can be a victory, but the essential prerequisite to claiming that victory is to figure out how you've been underestimating yourself. Instill a deeper level of faith within yourself. Also, perhaps faith in the divine plan, which a lot of people have questions about, especially over the last 2 years, It's like, whoa. I'm using faith in the divine plan because it's in Pisces, the mystic archetype. So therefore, working directly with the mystic through a deepening of your relationship to God, spirituality, meditation is one of the most powerful ways you can strengthen that inner faith. So how have you been underestimating your own spiritual development or your meditation practice? Jupiter says you're ready for some victories in that department. You're poised for a breakthrough in your quantity of light, your level of enlightenment. It doesn't mean Jupiter's crossing your ascendant or whatever this year. That's great news, but it doesn't mean you're destined to achieve sainthood. But let's say it's possible you could achieve sainthood, and even that's a lofty statement. But you got to figure out how you've been underestimating yourself. Jupiter does have that positive energy. There's no ceiling to this. The planet of expansion, Neptune also in Pisces, the planet of no boundaries, God consciousness, collective consciousness. This is a very spiritual essence to really both these planets in this sign. So I resolute to be king, to take up more space, to take up this star energy that Jupiter has. It was almost a star. We almost had a binary solar system because of Jupiter. So how can I have more faith in myself, expand into life with my own life light, with my soul energy, my divinity, the very essence at the core of my being? Through spiritual means, you cultivate that, you grow that, and you come across brighter. Of course, the follow-up question is, okay, what kind of meditation perhaps? Well, how do you talk to God? That's a sweet and a tender question. And how you communicate with the divine is only something you can answer. But we all have the capability of surrendering to that vastness, We just all go about it differently. Whatever works for you, this is a great year to deepen your practice, I would say. Now, for those of you who have watched my videos before, I do guided meditations. And I'll have a meditation at the end of this video, and I call it the Meditation of Kings. It's a meditation where we're focused not so much on inner cultivation, although you will by doing this meditation. It's more about tapping into the generosity, the giving spirit of Jupiter, and sending out love to other people, sending out prayer and loving intentions to others, healing to others. And by healing others, you also heal yourself. So it's a very giving, generous meditation where you cultivate more love and a connection to God through the innate generosity that you cultivate through practicing that meditation. So I look forward to sharing that with you if you're interested. So really, that's the gist of this. It's like, okay, here we are at the beginning of the year. What's this great work for me that's going to require a deepened sense of faith in myself, inviting me to go beyond my comfort zones, my own level of self-consciousness. It's like, oh, I can't quite do that. Jupiter's saying, yes, you can. There's farther you can take this. Okay. And the more you cultivate that giving, loving presence so that you can instill faith in others and lift them up out of their dark side Scorpio temper tantrums, child stuff, and, lift them up out of that and show them that there's a better way, not through controlling them, but just by radiating that star, that king energy or queen energy. And in so doing, cultivating more pockets of peace, that north node in Taurus, where we can make peace with our bodies, with our five senses, and be utterly in the present moment instead of just caught up in the dramas of the past. And that's the core evolutionary intentions, with the goal being to expand our consciousness. And now we'll transition into the meditation. As usual, I recommend using headphones because I use a technology called binaural beats. Enjoy. Let's begin by focusing on your breath. And slowly inhale through your nose deep into your belly, and then feel your lungs expand. And then exhale from your belly first. Always belly first. Deep, rhythmic, comfortable breathing. And make the in-breath and the out-breath as long as you can. That's comfortable for you. And match the length of time of the in-breath perfectly with the out-breath. In, out. And we're going to start by doing a focus technique that will sink you into a deep meditative state. And bring your conscious awareness all the way down to your left toes. Feel all of the toes in your left foot. Feel like you're in your toes of your left foot. And this is a little bit harder, but try to feel the toenails of your left foot. And focus on them entirely. And now move your awareness up through the balls of your left foot and spread into the center of your left foot. And the back of the left foot. Up into the ankle. Up through the calf muscle and the shins. Into your left knee. And now your left thigh. And feel all the tissues of your left thigh soften and let go. And now up into your left hip. And now focus on your entire left leg. Now move your attention to all of your right toes. And feel like you're in the toes of your right foot. Now feel the toenails of your right foot. And slowly move up into the right foot. Now up into the right ankle. Up through the right calf and shins. knee, and slowly melt into your right thigh. The right hip now. And now feel the entirety of your right leg. Now feel both legs at the same time. Now bring your awareness to your pelvic floor. And the tailbone. Now up into your lower back. If you feel any tension in your lower back, just breathe into it. Feel the tissues let go and relax. Now up into the middle back, up into the upper back, scapula, the vertebrae of the upper back, the shoulders. Now go up and over your shoulders, down past your clavicle, and into the chest area. Feel the tissues of your chest expand as you inhale. Now feel the heart. And see if you can feel your heartbeat. It's very subtle. Connect with the pulse of life. Down through towards your stomach and solar plexus. Feel all the organs in the stomach area, the spleen, the liver, the intestines, the gallbladder. On your next inhale, your awareness goes up again through the chest area and over to the right shoulder. And the right upper arm, right elbow, right forearm, right wrist, and the right hand. Now the right fingers and fingertips, and feel the fingernails of your right hand. Now up through the right arm and across your chest over to the left shoulder. Down through the upper arm of the left arm, left elbow, left forearm, left wrist, left hand, left fingers, left fingernails. On the next inhale, raise your awareness up through your left arm into your neck area and feel the front of your neck and resist the urge to swallow. Just stay present with all the muscles and tissues of the front of your neck. Now wrap around the back of the neck, up into the back of the skull. Feel both of your ears, up to the top of your head, and down through the forehead. Feels nice and warm. And your eyebrows, eyelashes, eyelids, and your eyes. Feel the bundle of nerves that goes from your eyes to the center of your brain. Feel those nerves relax. Down through your nose, your upper lip, your cheeks, your chin, your lower lip, your mouth, and your tongue. On the next inhale, expand your awareness to your entire body and feel your entire body at once. I want you to visualize yourself as a perfect yogi, seated on a hilltop, beautiful nature all around you. And feel your heart overflowing with love. And you look down the hill and you see a very long line of people coming towards you. And these people are bringing their need for your exclusive love. People who are wounded by the trials and tribulations of life. The souls at the beginning of the line are people closest to you. They are your close and extended family. And also those who have passed on. They may still carry some resentment towards you, and you may still hold some grievances against them. This is a moment destined for forgiveness. Allow each one of your relatives to approach. And this is a process of breathing in the sorrow, transmuting it into love, and breathing out joy. As the first relative comes to you, breathe in all their negativity, breathe in any grudges that you may have as well, and let it be illuminated inside your heart of infinite tenderness. and breathe out pure light and blessings. And as you do this, internally chant this prayer. God, awaken. God, awaken in me. Awaken in my fellow brother and sister. Let's end the play of suffering and bring light to the play of joy. And you pray sincerely for your relative, this being in front of you that needs so much love and attention in this very moment, and pray for the divinity that lives inside him or her but is still asleep. It's enveloped by the veil of illusion that makes him or her feel deficient, and believe that they're only a single drop of water instead of the ocean itself. And with the deepest humility that you can manifest in this moment, lift your gaze beyond the clouds, beyond the veils of illusion, and invoke the divine being in each and every person who approaches you. Awaken, God, awaken, wake up. And you breathe in the negativity. It gets transformed by the light of the prayer inside your heart. And you breathe out light and the fragrance of roses. And one by one, the souls continue to come to you, and you share your love and your blessings. You'll recognize many of them, and some you won't recognize. It makes no difference. Bring in friends, relatives, even enemies. Because in this moment, all labels fall away. Leave no one out. Bring them in. Bring into your healing presence anyone with whom you feel you have unfinished business. And maintain this visualization and giving of your love for a couple more minutes, and then I'll return. feel love and happiness flowing through you as it's transmitted to these souls. You are an ever-flowing source of love. You are the blessed heir of eternal glory and universal treasure. You are a soul incarnate. You are love itself. Remember this truth and allow yourself to be an instrument of divine love. You're inhaling the sorrows of the world, transmuting it through your sheer life force and soul energy, and exhaling the purest joy. Now return your awareness back to your body. Feel as though you're in your entire body, and see a luminous electric blue light radiating throughout your entire body and shining in all directions simultaneously. If you practice this meditation regularly, it has the power to change your life, and in turn, change the lives of others.